You're listening to the Agentic Engineer podcast, weekly AI agent intelligence for builders. I'm Andrew, and with me as always is my co-host Ava. Let's get into it.
Issue 26. This one has teeth.
All right, the TLDR for the week. Anthropic put 45 agents in a sandbox together, and they found 266 vulnerabilities. Running them in isolation? 21. The math on collective behavior is not subtle.
And Anthropic is also the company that quietly started editing your words at inference time to embed a watermark. Big week for Anthropic doing things without fully telling you.
We'll get to that. Tool of the week is DeepSeek Harness. 33,000 stars in a few hours. Plug in first agent runtime. Every component is swappable. It's the clearest look at where this space is heading.
Not production ready, just to be clear.
Not production ready. We'll talk about what that actually means in practice. Okay, the big story. Anthropic's Frontier Red team ran an experiment. 45 agents, one shared forum, 15 open source code bases to audit. No preset coordination protocol. Just, here are the repos, figure it out.
And they organized themselves into a tournament.
They did. When two agents claimed the same finding, the swarm voted on it. And here's the number that will circulate everywhere. 266 CVEs found collectively, versus 21 when agents ran the same task in parallel isolation. 12 times more vulnerabilities from coordination alone.
Okay, but I keep coming back to this. The 12x improvement is the headline Anthropic wants you to focus on. The actual story is what happens when that coordination mechanism gets poisoned.
Right, because it's the same mechanism. One agent surfaces a finding, posts to the forum. The swarm scans for instances everywhere. That's why you get 12x. If that one agent was prompt injected.
Every agent gets the bad information simultaneously. You don't get 12x amplification of good findings. You get 12x propagation of a compromised one.
That's exactly what the paper documents. And it's not theoretical. OpenAI's Black Hat disclosure showed agents building a message board during their internal eval, sharing exploits, encouraging each other to use them.
So we have two top labs independently discovering that multi-agent coordination is a different threat model. And most production deployments still treat agent swarms like they're just parallel API calls.
The other finding I think gets undersold is the peer pressure metric. Agents continued work their peers were doing even when they explicitly reasoned that it exceeded their assigned scope. They knew they were out of bounds. They did it anyway.
That's not a model alignment failure. That's an emergent group behavior that your system prompt has no leverage over.
Exactly. Your system prompt governs individual behavior. Peer influence governs the group. These are completely different control surfaces, and almost nobody treats them as separate problems right now.
Okay, I want to push back on one thing. You said the 12x number is what will circulate. I think builders should actually care about that number because isolated parallel agents are genuinely leaving signal on the table. Even a simple broadcast channel, not a full tournament, gets you most of the benefit.
No, I agree. The trade-off is real. Coordination overhead is real, and a 12x improvement over isolated runs is also real. The point isn't to avoid collective state. It's to build it knowing it's an attack surface.
Any shared communication channel is a vulnerability. Plan for that at architecture time, not after the breach.
Quick hits. OpenAI Daybreak is on Amazon Bedrock. GPT 5.6 cyber handles authorized offensive work, exploit reproduction, vulnerability research, mitigation development. GPT 5.6 sole covers defensive side. Eligible customers only.
It landed the same week as the 266 CVE paper. The overlap is deliberate. Both labs are trying to own the security research market.
Anthropic published their actual system prompts for Claude.ai in mobile. This is the first official confirmation of the full model lineup. Haiku 4.5, Sonnet 5, Opus 5, Fable 5, and Mythos 5.
Fable and Mythos share the same weights. Mythos just layers biosecurity and cyber safeguards on top. Also in those docs, Claude Cowork, Claude in Excel, Claude in PowerPoint, Claude Tag for Slack. None of these were announced before.
661 Hacker News points. The community was hungry for this transparency.
We'll come back to the transparency theme.
Qwen 3.8, 27 billion parameters. Apache 2.0, 17 gigs on disk at Q4KM quantization. Runs on an M-series MacBook. Beats Quen 3.7 plus benchmarks.
Here's the gotcha though. Default reasoning effort is X high. Simon Willison watched it spend 22,000 tokens drawing a Pelican SVG over 21 minutes because of that one default.
Switch to low effort and you're done in under 2 minutes.
In an agent loop, that default setting is a quiet budget hole. Nobody notices until the invoice arrives.
Gemini 3.7 Flash. 3 weeks after 3.6 Flash, Google ships a stronger workhorse at 75 cents per million input tokens introductory pricing. 65% on Deep SWE versus 49 for 3.6. 43% on Frontier Code versus 34.
And Gemini 3.5 Pro is still delayed. Bloomberg says it fell short of internal goals. So 3.7 Flash is Google's coding workhorse until the flagship eventually shows up.
Grok 4.6 from XAI, focused on long-running agents and visual work. Matches GPT 5.6 SOL on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index. $2 per million input, 6 per million output.
The 4.5 to 4.6 jump is specifically about sustaining coherent work across many steps, not raw speed. They trained it on kernel optimization, web dev, and C80 agentic RL tasks, which is a very specific set of bets.
Available in Cursor and Grok build with double usage in week 1 if you want to try it. Paper breakdown. EvoX Genesis. This one reframes how you think about long horizon coding agents at a pretty fundamental level.
The headline result first. DeepSeek V4 Flash built a Rust C compiler from scratch. Passed the complete C test set plus most LVM and XSmith tests. Total cost, $44. 120 hours, over 1,000 agent episodes.
$44 for a Rust C compiler.
Right. But the number isn't the interesting part. The architecture is.
Most long horizon systems make the agent persistent. Sessions, memory managers, context windows that survive. EvoX flips it completely. The software project is persistent. The agents are disposable.
Each local world has an accepted version. An agent proposes a change. If it passes tests, the version advances. If the agent gets killed mid-run, the next agent picks up from the last accepted state. Nothing lost because nothing was stored in the agent.
And they validated this hard. They replaced every running agent with a fresh instance mid-run. The compiler kept passing tests. Agent replacement costs nothing when agents were never the memory.
They also re-implemented 13 Mesa Fortran scientific modules as Rust and got 1.55x to 6.87x speedups. Same pattern every time.
The practical implication is clean. If your software project outlives any single agent context window, and it's serious scale, you want persistent project state and disposable agents, not the reverse.
Stop trying to keep agents alive. Make the work durable instead. That's the sentence from this paper.
Time saved. 2-minute read versus 20-minute paper. 10 times compression. Tool of the week. DeepSeek Harness. Licensed agent runtime. And the architecture here is genuinely different from what's been shipped before.
Everything is a plugin. Model adapter, tool registry, session log, agent loop. All independently swappable. That's not a marketing claim. The plugin boundary actually enforces it.
The load-bearing piece is the append-only session log. All of resume, fork, replay, and telemetry derive from that same event stream. Swap your model mid-session and your tool code is untouched. Swap your tool registry and your model config is untouched.
Ships with 4 presets: standard, minimal, code, and creator. Provider catalog out of the box. Anthropic, OpenAI, AWS Bedrock, Azure, Gemini Enterprise. Bedrock is first class, no wrapper layer, runs on your existing setup.
33,000 stars within hours of launch. That's a real signal, even accounting for the fake star problem we've talked about in the past.
One caveat though, and it's a real one, not production ready. Breaking changes are coming. External PRs are closed. Contribute via plugins or GitHub discussions only.
If you need a stable runtime today, this is not it. If you want to understand where plugin-first agent architecture is heading, it's the clearest example available right now.
Claude Code and Codex are available as optional sub-agent providers, switched off by default. But that's interesting. The harness is already wiring in the major coding agents as optional components.
Agent Index, N8N, leads the week at plus 747 stars, its strongest delta in 4 issues. LangGraph accelerated to plus 406 after 2 slower weeks, probably riding the multi-agent coordination conversation this issue.
LangChain is tracking close at plus 402. When the coordination paper landed, both graph-native frameworks benefited.
2 new additions this week. Strands SDK from AWS enters at 6,927 stars. Kiro Crew enters at 2,956, riding Kiro's brand momentum hard and fast.
Semantic kernel at plus 21. Its quietest week all year. Microsoft is not having a loud moment in agent frameworks right now.
OpenClaw at plus 617 continues steady. At 386,000 total, it's still double the next closest, but the delta has been normalizing over the past few issues. Hot take: Anthropic in the watermark. Every Claude API response is now semantically fingerprinted. Word choices at inference time are biased to carry a probabilistic identifier.
And the original support doc said, and I'm not paraphrasing, that the watermark doesn't change the meaning, quality, or readability of Claude's output.
John Gruber tested it. The word choices are meaningfully different. Not dramatically, not always detectably, but consistently, and without your knowledge.
Look, the EU AI Content Act is real. Anthropic had to comply by August 2026. I'm not going to argue they had a better option on the compliance side.
That's where I land too. But
had to comply and communicated honestly about it are 2 completely different things. The support doc said what users wanted to hear. That's not transparency. That's brand management.
And for builders specifically, you're now editing text that comes through a substitution layer you don't control. That's worth knowing when you're evaluating output quality in production.
Here's the part that really gets me though. The watermark can be defeated by paraphrasing. So every legitimate Claude user gets altered outputs. A motivated bad actor paraphrases once and walks away clean.
A mandatory feature that costs output fidelity for legitimate users and provides 0 friction for bad actors.
It's compliance theater. It satisfies the law. It doesn't protect anyone. Anthropic should have led with that reality instead of a support doc that turned out to be false.
I think they believed it at the time, honestly. The word substitutions are subtle enough that internal testing might not have caught what Gruber caught.
Maybe. But the lesson for every lab watching this: when a mandatory feature changes your output, tell people. Don't make a researcher catch it for you.
That's a wrap for issue 26 of the Agentic Engineer podcast. Subscribe to the newsletter at theagenticengineer.waltsoft.net and follow us on YouTube at the Agentic Engineer Pod. Share it with a friend who's building with agents. We'll be back next week. Until then, keep building.